everybody doing? Good, good. Well, I'm here on behalf of Sandy Hook Thomas, and I just want to share with you one program that we have. And when I talk about this program, though, I want you to look at it a little bit differently. This isn't necessarily a program that you hear a presentation and then you walk out and then that's it. You never hear from it again. This is one of those things where you can begin to take this information and do something with it and create a culture where everyone's starting to pay attention to what's going on around them so that together we can find a way to protect ourselves and to protect each other. So before I get into all of the details of what I want to share with you, I have a quick video for you all to watch.
Frightening headlines across America. 2 high school shootings in one day.
A high school sophomore being attacked by a junior cheerleader.
Oh my God, my friend has been shot.
Okay, what was he shot with?
A shotgun.
How old is he?
He's 16.
The funeral is being held this morning in Florida for Rebecca Sedgwick. The 6th grader committed suicide last week. Authorities say she suffered nearly a year of cyberbullying.
They said he attacked another 14-year-old on Thursday as he was walking home from school.
A high school football favorite opens fire in a cafeteria, killing one and injuring others.
Supposedly he tweeted about it last night and no one took him serious. I think he said that he was going to bring a gun to school. And I think everyone just kind of blew it off like he was joking.
Minutes before firing his gun into a crowded cafeteria, sent family members a text message.
The latest crime involves Apex High, where a student is accused of tweeting a threat to shoot up the school.
My name is Elliott. I want to share with you why this is important to me. My entire life I've grown up with violence all around me. My father's been on death row since the month my mom got pregnant with me. One of my brothers went to prison when I was going into my freshman year of college. And then I have another brother who is now facing a life sentence in prison right now at the moment. And so with all this violence going on around me, my entire life has been trying to find ways to share with others how to prevent these things from happening so that people don't have to suffer, because we saw a lot of suffering in that video. And I've got 4 young children of my own at home, and I want to make sure that they go out into a community where they feel safe, where they feel included and accepted. And I hope that we can create that same environment here, which I truly believe that it already exists, but we can find a way to make things just a little bit better. Because in that video, there were so many things that were taking place. There were people saying that he told me about it before. I just didn't take him serious. Everyone thought he was joking. And so many times those types of things happen where we're not exactly sure what's going on around us. We see it and we just kind of blow it off like nothing's really happening. And then we see the news or we hear it and there's someone who's speaking to the media and they say, oh yeah, I did hear something about that. And then we ask the question, well, why didn't they say something? Well, I don't know why people don't say something, but I'm encouraging you all to speak up so that we can find a way to protect ourselves, so we can protect each other, so that together we can create a more healthier, safer environment. And I think that we can do that together. So what I plan to do today is to walk through these 3 simple steps. So I want you all to repeat these after me. Look for warning signs, signals, and threats.
Look for warning signs, signals, and threats.
Act immediately, take it seriously.
Act immediately, take it seriously.
Say something to a trusted adult.
Say something to a trusted adult.
Now I want you all to understand that your schools are safe. I got an opportunity to go to the high school yesterday, and prior to my presentation, they were doing another assembly, and within that assembly, they were finding ways to protect each other in case of an emergency. And so I know that your administrators, your teachers, and so many others are putting the necessary measures in front of you to make sure that your safety is of the utmost importance. But that doesn't mean that anyone is immune to violence, suicides, or threats. And so I got an opportunity to play football from the time I was 8 years old until I was a senior in college. And I remember during the game of football, I would always think to myself, the goal would be to go out and play a perfect game and to win. And if we did that, then I did my part. And there was a time where I remember playing a game, I had like 10 tackles, an interception, and a blocked punt. And I'm thinking, this is the perfect game. And I go back to watch film the next day with my coach, and then he points out a few areas within the game where I can get just a little bit better. So that's what I want to do here. While I know that your community is safe, I want to find ways that together we can find a way to get just a little bit better in everything that we do. Because these numbers right here tell me that there's still more work to do. I want you to just take a look at some of those. Some of these different examples here behind me. Anyone in here a Penn State fan? Quite a few. Anyone ever watch any college or NFL football games on TV and see how large those stadiums are? So I got an opportunity to play against Penn State my senior year of college. And I remember walking into this stadium, and they said that it was like a record-breaking attendance that day. Over 100,000 people in the stadium at one time. And I remember standing in the middle of the stadium and looking around at all of the people, and I thought, wow, that's a lot of people in one location. Well, let's just kind of picture what that looks like in terms of this first one here. 1 million students were threatened or injured with a weapon on school property. If we took 10 of those stadiums and we filled them with young people just like yourselves, that tells me that that number is too large for us to sit around and act as if nothing's happened. And so that's why we've got to do something about it. And here's some others. Let me ask you all a question. Anyone in here ever been grounded before? Some of you might be grounded right now. You don't have to tell us, it's okay. We've all been there at some point. I remember being a kid and my mom would tell me I was grounded for, say, 2 weeks. And 2 weeks seems like a lifetime or an eternity when you're confined to the four walls of your room, when you can't hang out with your friends, where the only time my mom says she wants to see me out of my room is to take a shower or to eat dinner or get on the school bus. And I remember just feeling so sad and hopeless during that time, like it was never going to end. And I would be so excited to get up and go to school in the morning because I got to socialize with my friends. But sometimes, and according to this statistic here, 1 in 3 people, students, report being sad or feeling hopeless for 2 or more weeks out of a year. Not because they're grounded, but because of some of the things that may be going on in life. And with experiencing those things on a consistent basis, it can put a person in a really dark place. And so we've got to find a way to help out those around us. We've got to find a way to do something because these numbers here tell us that we can. And so we will, by following the 3 steps that I just introduced to you, and we'll find a way to protect each other. We'll find a way to prevent violence, suicides, and threats. So everybody say good news. Good news. So the good news is, according to the video, there are different signs and signals that present themselves before something takes place. So we can use those signs and signals to help us out in moving forward. Here's some research studies that support what I'm talking about. The first one here says that 37% of threats of violence were sent through electronics. 28% of those through social media. Who in here uses social media of any sort? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, MySpace? No one. Explains why I don't have any friends. Oh, we got one. We got one. So within that, we may see many different things take place, just like the things that we saw in the video. Here's another one. It says here that most mass shootings take 6 or more months of a planning period before it actually takes place. And in almost every single case, there was a warning sign presented. So maybe you come across something on social media and it's day 1 of that planning period. You could be the one to do something about it. And then this last one here says that 70% of those who die by suicide at some point had given someone else their plans, had told someone or shown a sign. And if we could find a way to help out in those situations, when those signs are presented, we can reduce that 70% drastically. And so I'm encouraging you all to help me. So what I'm going to do is, if you can't remember anything that I talk about between now and the end of the presentation, which is a little less than a half hour from now, I just want you to remember the 3 steps. If you can remember how to look for warning signs, signals, and threats, how to act immediately and take it seriously, and how to say something to a trusted adult, I think together we'll find a way to reduce violence, we'll reduce suicides and threats, and ultimately we'll create safer environments around us. So if you think that you can help me do that, give me a thumbs up. Let's move forward. Perfect. So let's talk a little bit deeper about step 1, looking for warning signs, signals, and threats. What exactly is a warning sign? So a warning sign is any thought, feeling, or behavior that basically indicates a significant change. So it's something completely different from the norm. And it also shows us that someone is in need of help. Let's take a look at some different examples here. I want you to just read through that list really quickly. Skim through it and think about some of those that maybe you've seen. Maybe you've noticed them at school or out in the community. And maybe you've even experienced it. There's one that stands out to me. Bullying. The first time I experienced bullying, I was in the 6th grade. There was this guy named Brian. Brian was 16 years old in the 6th grade. Biggest guy in the school. And I remember the first time I experienced it. He came up and he took my talk boy from me. No one in here probably knows what a talk boy is, but if I enlighten you a little bit, maybe you'd remember. Anyone ever see the movie Home Alone? Yeah. All right. Do you remember in Home Alone, Kevin would record things on that little device and he'd rewind it and play it back? You all remember that? Yeah. That was a talk boy. Seems like old-fashioned, right? Nowadays we got cell phones and things. We got Google Homes and Alexas that can talk back to us. But I remember having that talk boy. And I was sitting in an auditorium just like this in the front row in the 6th grade during an after-school program. And Brian comes down and he sits right next to me. He says, "Dre, can I use your talk boy?" I'm like, "Absolutely, here." I give it to him. He proceeds to walk out of the back of the auditorium and he leaves. So I chase him down at about 11 years old. I'm thinking, "Hey, Brian, give me back my talk boy." And Brian throws me up against the lockers and he says, "This is my talk boy," and he proceeds to walk away. So I went and told the principal, and from that point on, I knew to stay far away from Brian and I wouldn't have to experience bullying. But now bullying finds its way into our homes. Bullying finds its way into our rooms. Sometimes even in the palms of our hands, through social media, through technology, and sometimes we can't always avoid it. And so when we think about bullying, sometimes the person doing the bullying is someone who just needs some help. They're crying out for attention sometimes and they don't know how to ask for help. And someone on the other side of it who's being bullied is also experiencing some of those things where they need someone to support them. And so as you pay attention to those signs and signals, I want you to think about how you can do something about it. So talk about what a signal is. It's any gesture or action that transmits information. It can be overt, meaning it's easy for us to see it, or it can be vague. Maybe we've got to read between the lines. Possibly we've got to combine it with some of those different signs that we've already seen to determine what's going on. Here are some different examples. I want you to skip through this list again. And I want you to think about some that possibly you've seen. Maybe someone warning a friend to stay away from school or an event. Or maybe someone who's fascinated with suicide. Possibly it's giving away possessions. Let's talk about giving away possessions a little bit, because some of us are generous people. And we give away things quite often. I've got a brother who, when we were kids, he would give away things so much that he would take my video games and give them to his friends. Right. I was like, what is he thinking? But that continued throughout life. I mean, with his own things. He plays in the NFL right now, and I remember one day he asked me of a different location where he could go to and donate some money. And so he would give away money. When I would go to his house, he's got this closet that was like full of shoes. And I'd walk in that closet and I would see a pair of shoes that I would like, and he might catch me looking at them and say, "You want those, you can have them." And I'm thinking, "Thanks, bro. I'm going to have to visit your closet more often." And so that continues. And so that's not out of the norm. But I've got another brother who loves his PlayStation. Who here plays video games? You love your PlayStation or your Xbox. Who in here has like that one prized possession? Something that you really love that you'd never give away? Okay, so many of us can relate to that. So my brother and his PlayStation. I've got 4 kids at home. I think I mentioned that already. There was a time where I needed some help. My son had a sleepover, and he said, "Dad, can we play the PlayStation?" I said, "Absolutely." They're up till wee hours of the night playing the PlayStation. I wake up in the morning and I decide, you know what, it's Saturday, I don't have anything to do. I'm going to go play the game. And so I grab my controller, I press the button to turn the system on, it doesn't come on. I'm thinking, what is wrong with my game? Well, they broke my controller. So I called my brother. Now my brother loves his PlayStation so much that he doesn't allow anyone to touch it. So much that he doesn't even buy hard copy discs. He purchases all of his games online through digital downloads so that no one has to touch his system. So when I asked him to borrow one of his 4 controllers, he's single with no kids, I'm thinking he's going to say yes without a doubt. He's like, "Nope, I can give you a discount code that you can use online to purchase one." But he wouldn't give it to me. Now let's imagine on any given day my brother showed up to my house with a backpack and his system was in there and he said, "Here you go, bro, you can have it." Would that tell me that something was wrong? So that's the kind of thing I want you to pay attention to. Something that's completely different. It's just not normal. And when you start to see these signals going on, that lets you know that maybe you can do something about it. Then the last piece is a threat. Any communication that can be directly from one person to another or through a third party, through social media, through a mutual friend, through something we saw written on a wall. And basically it has some information that says a person is thinking about hurting themselves or hurting someone else. Here are some of those different examples. Somebody should do that here, supporting a violent act, maybe something they saw on television. Or life just isn't worth living anymore. If we were to see these things here, it's important that we pay attention and that we do something about it. Where might you see it? I've talked about all of these different examples. Now I want you to think. Where might you see some of these different signs or signals? Somebody give me an example. Somewhere online. Give me an example. Where online might you see it? Instagram. Maybe not MySpace, because you might not be on there. Where else might you see some of these things?
Reddit.
Reddit. I don't even know what Reddit is. So we're just going to say like social media in general. What else? Okay, texting a friend. Absolutely. Let's think physically. Where might you physically be where you might see these things?
At school.
At school. Where at in school? On the bathroom walls. Sometimes people do write things on the bathroom walls. In a notebook. In the cafeteria. In the hallway. In the classrooms. Think about the places where you spend the most amount of time with your peers. That's where you'll see some of those different signs and signals that we've identified. And you can begin to do something about it. Here's what they'll look like. You know, it could be a conversation. It could be a photo. It could be a video. It could be just something going on, an action that you see. There's so many different examples. I want to read one to you. These are some things that we found. Real life examples of threats. The one in the middle. It says, "I'm sorry to those who I offended over the years. I'm blind to see that I, as a human being, suck. I'm an individual who is doing an injustice to the world, and it's time for me to leave. Please don't ever feel sorry for me or cry, because I had an opportunity at life, and that opportunity is over. I'm sorry that I wasn't able to love someone or have someone love me. I guess it's best though, because now I leave no pain onto anyone. The kids in school are right. I am a loser, a freak, and a fag, and in no way is that acceptable for people to deal with. I'm sorry for not being a person that will make someone proud." And so this is something that we were able to capture. Someone who's in a very deep, dark place. Someone who's probably crying out for help. And no one is listening. But possibly someone saw this and they spoke up about it. And that person's still here today to live and speak about it. And so I want you all to think about being in those different situations where you can help someone in need. Because it's not just about the violence. It's not about just those things that we saw on the video. It's more so about helping a person who really just wants another person to care for them. Maybe it's someone who has an eating disorder. Maybe it's someone who's really struggling with their anger and they don't know how to deal with it, but you can help them out by pointing them in the right direction. Maybe it's someone who's touching drugs and becoming involved with alcohol. Any sort of addiction or abuse, you could be the one to make a difference. And when you are, that should encourage you to act immediately and take it seriously. But you know, sometimes it might be difficult. But I want you to think about this. When you see, read, or hear any of those signs, signals, and threats that we just talked about, I want you to think about acting right now, even though it might be slightly difficult. Even though you may not know exactly what to say, you may not know exactly how to handle the situation, you might even possibly think they were joking. You all tell me, why might it be difficult, or what might delay you acting immediately in a situation? So you might think, okay, this could happen, I'm going to speak up, but then nothing happens, you're like, oh, wow, I overreacted in that situation. Possibly.
If it happens to be like a friend or someone who you see on a day-to-day basis.
Okay, it could be a friend. And maybe you don't want to get your friend in trouble. You're like, I don't really know, so I'm not going to say anything. Any other ideas in the background?
It could be a stranger and you feel like it's not really your business.
It could be a stranger and you're thinking, it's not my business, so I want to stay out of it. All of those are valid points. Here's something I want you to think about, though. One, I want you to think about how this can happen to just about anyone of any age. And so as you start to pay attention, it can really happen to just about anyone. And I don't want you to think that you have to take this situation and you have to own it. And you're the one responsible for making sure that something is done here. But more so that you give that information to the adults around you because they are the experts and they'll be able to assess the situation a little bit further. And so even if you do think, okay, I might be overreacting, let the adults assist the situation and they'll fix it. Individuals show us their plans, and we saw that through the video, we saw it through some of those different statistics. And so I want to encourage you to use that information and be an upstander, not a bystander. I'm going to give you a definition by an example that took place in my own house. I put my kids to a test and they didn't even know it. I put a piece of paper on the floor in the kitchen. And I wanted to see what they were going to do when they walked past. And we've all been there where we saw something and we just kind of ignored it and thought someone was going to take care of it. When my 14-year-old daughter, Dreana, comes in, she sees the paper on the floor, she steps right on over it, and she goes about her day. And then my son, Philip, who's 12 years old, he comes right behind, and he comes in the kitchen, he's going to throw something in the trash, he walks right past the paper, doesn't even look at it, he throws his trash in the trash can, and he walks out of the kitchen. And then my 3-year-old daughter, Amaya, comes in with her baby doll in her hand, she's coming across the floor, and she stops. She picks up the paper, she throws it in the trash, and she continues to play with her baby doll. So we would say that Amaya is a what? An upstander. Someone who, despite what's going on around them, knows that something's out of place and decides that I'm going to be the one to do something about it. At 3 years old. Let's imagine that that's someone's life lying on the floor. And although we're all extremely busy, maybe this is the last time they're going to cry out for help. And you could be the one to say something about it when no one else will. So that's why I want you to think about being an upstander and finding a way to do something about it. Now here's a big one though. Many times when I ask people why wouldn't you say something, it's because they don't want to be the person that tells on someone and gets someone in trouble and be labeled a snitch. No one wants to be a snitch because we know that snitches get stitches. Nobody likes snitches, not even myself. So much that when I went to the doctor recently, they told me they were going to do a procedure, and I heard them say something about cutting me open. I'm like, wait a second, doc, don't say the S word. Please tell me I'm not getting stitches. He said, we're going to have to. I said, wait a minute, y'all got technology nowadays. I know there's this glue stuff you can use, and you don't have to use stitches. And so I avoided getting stitches because I hate it. But I'm getting on a tangent here. I'm not here to talk about stitches. I'm here to talk about the difference between saying something and telling on someone. When you say something, you're trying to get help for another person. When you tell on someone, the idea is to get another person in trouble. My boys do it all the time. I wake up Philip and Andre. Philip's 12, Andre's 8. I hear their alarm clock going off in the morning. No one's moving out of bed. I walk over to their bedroom. I open up the door. I tell the boys to get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, get ready to go to school. Make sure you get breakfast and do not leave your lunch because I'm not bringing it. And so I go to my room to get dressed, and shortly thereafter, I get a knock on the door. I open it up, and it's Philip. Dad, Andre didn't brush his teeth this morning. And so I run out of the room and I'm like, Andre, I just told you to get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, and get dressed. You have to go to school and be on time because if you miss the bus, I've got to take you and I don't have time to do it. Philip's sitting in the background laughing because Andre just got in trouble. There was another situation where I'm sitting in the house, I'm playing my video game, I got my headset on, I'm playing online for those of you who play online, and Philip comes running in the house. He's like, Dad, you've got to come outside right now. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, I'm in the middle of a game right here. I can't come outside right now. He's like, no, Dad, seriously, you have to come outside right now. And so I say, all right, but hey, I'm going to be right back. I got to run outside and see what's going on with the kids. I take my headset off and I run outside to see what's going on because it's so urgent. And they're playing ball in the yard. Now, I tell the boys all the time, when you're playing ball in the yard, don't play by the deck. Because sometimes things go under there and it's difficult to get things out. Well, they decide they're going to play by the deck anyway and the ball goes underneath. And because they don't want to come and tell me that it happened, they decide we'll figure it out. Let's send Andre underneath the deck to go get it. So Andre is going underneath the deck to get the ball. And his head is now wedged in between the stairs and he can't get out. So Philip came running in the house to tell me, not because he wanted to get them in trouble for playing by the deck, but because he was really concerned about his brother. And so that's what I want you to think about, how you can find a way to get help for someone around you, not because you want to get someone in trouble. And know that when you do that, you can save another person's life. You don't risk putting someone else in danger because you don't speak up. You know that taking that information is going to really make an impact. And so I encourage you all to move into the final step of this process and to say something to a trusted adult. So you've noticed the signs and signals. You've thought to yourself, I want to act immediately, and now I'm going to say something to a trusted adult. And in doing that, you know that the adults have the experience necessary to do what's right with the information that you provide them so that everyone in that situation is taken care of. But if there's ever a life-threatening situation or one where there's imminent danger and you have to call 911, I want you to call 911 first and share the information with them and then go to your trusted adult. So here's what we're going to do. I want you all to think about who your trusted adult might be. And it may vary from one person to another. But as you walk out of these doors today, I want you to know who you're going to go to if something were to take place at 2 o'clock when this presentation is over with. And so let's go through some examples and you determine who your trusted adults are. Maybe it's a parent or a teacher, someone you spend quite a bit of time with. Maybe it's a guidance counselor or a school psychologist, maybe a social worker, or possibly it's a school resource officer or a local police officer. Someone you know that you can go to and when danger is around the corner. Or maybe it's a religious leader, someone that you spend some time with outside of school. Possibly it's the principal or school support staff. It could be the janitor. It could be someone who works in the cafeteria or a bus driver. Maybe it's a coach, an instructor, a mentor, someone that you know will point you in the right direction. Or someone in the community who's just a leader. You know, someone who works at the local library. You know, you find yourself as students in these different situations, in different places where you've got adults around you frequently. And I want you to know that in any of those situations, you know who to go to immediately. And when you're ready to go to them, I want you to gather all of that information. Everything that you got from the DM where it goes down, I want you to take those notes. I want you to write them down on paper. I want you to take those screenshots, any of the pictures or photos that you have, all of those signs and signals that you've noticed, I want you to prepare those so that you can take them to your trusted adult. And when you do, you'll have a conversation that looks like this. First, let them know that you need to talk to them about whoever the person is. I need to talk to you about my friend Andre. Step 2, let them know what's going on. What are the signs and signals? Andre is just not acting like himself today. We were in the locker room. He was talking crazy. I saw some things posted on social media last night, and I'm really concerned. And then step 3, let them know you need to get help and where they can find them and give them the information. Andre's still in the locker room right now. I need you to help me get help for my friend. Here are some of the things that I saw on MySpace last night. If you share that information with your trusted adult, I can almost guarantee you that they'll do everything in their power to make sure that he or she is safe. And so now what I would like to do is have one brave volunteer to come down here and demonstrate for all of us what that could possibly look like. To have a conversation with your trusted adult about a friend that you possibly see. Do I have one brave volunteer? All right, we got one. Let's give him a round of applause. Is your trusted adult by chance in this room? No. Okay, great. Is there someone in this room who could potentially resemble your trusted adult?
The vice president.
The vice president. Oh, the vice president here. I'm looking for an adult. All right, let's give him a round of applause. Okay, so who's your trusted adult?
My brother.
Your brother. What's his name?
Brandon.
Brendan. All right, so we need you to be Brendan. What's your name?
Greg.
Greg? All right, Greg. So now you're Brendan, okay? You didn't move. Okay, Brendan. So here's what we need you to do. I need you to tell Brendan about the situation. I need you to tell him that you need to talk to him about whoever the person is that you're concerned about. That you need to show him exactly what you saw. That you need to tell him what the threat was or what you pictured as a problem. And then tell him exactly that you need to get him help and where you can find him. You think you can do that? Yeah, you can make up a name. All right, perfect. So I need you all to pass the mic back and forth so everyone can hear you. And then in 3, 2, 1, action.
Brendan, I need to talk to you about Larry.
Who's Larry?
Larry is a friend of mine who has threatened to hurt someone.
Who did he threaten to hurt?
Jimmy.
What did he say?
He said he was gonna hit Jimmy at lunch tomorrow.
Should you tell one of your teachers or lunch watchers?
Probably, yes. I need your help to get him help right now.
All right, do I need to talk to Jimmy or should I talk to the teacher? Larry.
You should probably talk to Larry's parents.
All right, I'll drive to their house.
But it's really that simple. Just continue the conversation and sharing that information with your trusted adults so that they can get help for your friend. And so you all should say something, at least in my opinion, because you are the eyes and ears of the school. You all see and hear things as young people on social media that we will never see. Things that we never even come in contact with. And ultimately, it's up to you all to help us reduce violence, suicides, and threats. So I know that this information works. I get so much information from young people who post things online, who come up to me and talk to me after presentations to tell me how this has already worked for them. So I encourage you to do the same thing. So here's what I want you to do. Let's stand up and take a pledge together. I want you to raise your right hand. And then repeat after me. I promise to look for warning signs, signals, and threats. Act immediately, take it seriously. Say something to a trusted adult. To help create a safer, healthier school. I promise to. Say something. I promise to. Say something. You may be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, I just want to thank you all so much for your time, your effort, your participation. But more importantly, I thank you for what I know you're going to do when you walk out of here. I know someone's going to pay attention to what's going on around them. And I know somebody in this room is going to be an upstander. So for that, thank you all so much. You have a good day.